Hello, Robert Kiyosaki, and I'm going to be doing one of my favorite parts of my job is to give you updates on Twitter. And the reason for that, as you know, Twitter is very limited space. And so what we do is I send out some tweets and I get the responses. And so then I can expand upon the tweets that you are most responsive to, both good and bad, because I don't expect everybody to agree with me. But not long ago, I wrote that the best time to prepare for a crash is before a crash. And the biggest crash in world history is coming. That got a lot of news. What's the big news? The good news is the best time to get rich is during a crash. The bad news is the crash will be a long one, which is for me good news too. And get more gold, silver, and Bitcoin while you can. Take care. So that was my tweet. So I'll expand upon it now, and I appreciate you, giving us feedback for that. But there's something about being old that is good, and what I have is I've actually lived through history, and the funny thing that's happening right now. This is July 2021, and Robinhood is going public or something, some fake IPO and stuff like that, or a SPAC. And I'm just going, you got to be kidding me. Now, nothing wrong with Robinhood going crazy or a SPAC. So let me explain why. In the 1950s, when I was a kid, the only people that were in the stock market were gamblers. Back in the 1950s, people didn't live that long anyway. We didn't have these things called 401ks and all this. So I'll say it again, in the 50s, only gamblers were in the stock market. So if you said, oh, I made some money in the stock market, everybody says, oh, the guy's a gambler or a drug dealer or something. It was just not cool. But as some of you know, in 1971, the dollar came off the gold standard, but something else happened in the 70s. This is 1974. The 401k was started. And I call 401k the butt of the dog. That's where all the garbage comes out of. And I'm not saying, please hear me, I'm not saying don't have a 401k, but I wouldn't touch one. I don't touch used toilet paper. I don't like 401ks. Now you should. Now please I don't get me wrong, but the reason there's a Rich Dad company is I'm going to give you a couple of alternatives to your 401k, but you have to study. So I'll say it again, we go repeat it. In the 50s, nobody was in the stock market. Then what happened in they were in the bond market generally. If anybody was in anything, my mom and dad had their heads up their butts. They had no idea what was going on. And my rich dad was telling me to be an entrepreneur. He started businesses. So I had this kind of a cross education process going on. So in 74, the 401k comes out, and then all of a sudden everybody's getting forced into the stock market. And so you have 1971, Nixon takes $1 off the gold standard, and then 74, they push all the rookies into the stock market. And so in 2021, all the millennials and all the hodlers and the gamblers and all this stuff, they're jumping onto the Robinhood app and GameStop and all this. I'm going, well, I guess that's what happens. But I wouldn't touch any of that stuff. I have taken 3 companies public. I kind of know what goes on inside the market. As we had a discussion with our company the other day, because we do our best to educate everybody who works with Rich Dad. Long before a company goes through an IPO, initial public offering, the money's already been made. So people are hanging around hoping to get into the Robinhood IPO. Well, the rich have already exited. They've already made their money. So that's why back in the 90s, I started studying the stock market by actually taking 3 companies public. So the first 3 companies I started, we went public on the Toronto Stock Exchange, but the first round investors came in at a penny. So the first round investors in Robinhood are probably at pennies. And all these people are jumping on this IPO and all that and going. And so not understanding Robinhood, my friend Andy Tanner who is my go-to guy in the stock market, he says, what's happening now is all the young people, that Robinhood made it so easy for young people or anybody with a computer or an iPhone to enter the stock market that you can get in there for pennies. And so that's what drives the price of a stock up. And then some of you may remember not too long ago in the year 2000, it was companies like Amazon and pets.com and those other goofy stocks. So I've watched all of this happen. I've never got involved in it except the companies I took public. I took them public only because that's how badly I wanted to learn the stock market. And so that's why, being an old guy, I wouldn't touch the stuff. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't. Okay, like my friend Dave Ramsey says, live debt free. I think most people without financial education should live debt free. But what I do, and my friend Ken McElroy does, and Kim does, we borrow our butts off. Why do we borrow our butts off? Because in 1971, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. See, there's an advantage of getting older. So he took the dollar off the gold standard. And so 71, the US dollar became debt and taxes. And FYI, on August 15th, 2021 is the 50th anniversary of President Nixon taking the US dollar off the gold standard. And FYI, that's one of the most stupid things he could have done. Of course, Nixon wasn't the brightest match in the box. But anyway, he didn't know that was Lenin who said the best way to kill capitalism is to debauch the currency. So that's what Nixon did in 71. So on August 15th, 2021, we're going to have a special program with Kenny McElroy, my debt guy, and Tom Real, my tax guy, because what happened in 1971, the US dollar became debt and taxes. You see, the only way the dollar could be created is you have to get into debt, or the government has to borrow money, and the average guy pays taxes. If you understand that, you'll understand why 1971 and this 50th anniversary coming up is so important. So stay tuned, August 15th, 2021, we're going to have a 50th anniversary program on it to further explain how you're getting screwed by working for money. Anyway, that's my whole thing. So going back in history one more time, the 50s, nobody had stocks. 71, Nixon takes $1 off the gold standard. 74, the government says, oh, by the way, you have a 401k. Congratulations. And I'm going, you got to be kidding me. So that's why in the 90s and 2000, I took 3 companies public, a silver mine in Argentina, a gold mine in China, and an oil company in Portugal. Now, some people say there's no oil in Portugal. And I found out the hard way, there is no oil in Portugal. But I think the funny thing is I hate to say this, but we thought there might be. And all of the guys who wanted to get in on the IPO, like the Robinhood IPO, they're coming in at first round at pennies. So a penny would buy you a share of my company. And the object was to take it public at $2. That's how money is made. So this Robinhood thing that's coming in right now in 2021, the money's already been made. The spooky thing is Robinhood has made it so easy for so many people to jump into the stock market just as it goes to the top. And I'm not saying it's coming down, but if history is any guide, everything that goes up comes down. So I'd like to say this to you, like I was talking to another friend, of course, he's a stock guy, and stock guys always lie. They lie because they pretend they know what's going to come. So I was talking to my friend, he says, oh, don't worry, this is 2021. The stock market's going to stay up till 2025. And I go, give me a break. I mean, are you Jesus Christ? Are you Buddha? Are you Muhammad? Can you predict that? Here where the federal Biden and the Treasury and the Fed are printing trillions of dollars, and this thing is going into this gigantic souffle. It's about to come crashing down. When? I don't know. But that's why back in the 50s, nobody was in the stock market. Now everybody's in the stock market. It was kind of interesting being an old guy watching this whole thing happen. So I'll just give you a saying, okay? So I want you to prepare for this. There's an old saying that goes, well, how did you go bankrupt? And the answer is, well, I went bankrupt two ways. First, slowly, then suddenly. First, slowly, then suddenly. And the thing I'd like to caution all of you Reddit and Bitcoin and gold guys and stock guys and whatever you guys are, what people have not seen is today, as I speak, July 2021, everybody's happy because they're pumping all of this money in. They're just pumping it. And this giant balloon is being blown up and everybody's happy. There's one thing that people do not realize: when it comes down, it becomes terrifying. That happiness will turn to terror like that. Now, the good news is that's when you get rich. But you've got to be prepared for it. So that's why I said in my tweet that, I'll read it again. Okay, so I'll read it again. This is from a Twitter, my tweet. The biggest crash in world history is coming. The good news is the best time to get rich is during a crash. The hard part is most people are depressed. You see, right now, everybody's jumping in. They're on their Robinhood account. They're in this, I was sitting watching the Phoenix Suns play the Milwaukee Bucks in basketball. And there was a real estate agent and her husband. They're young. They're about 35 years old. They haven't been through the horrors I've been through. And she comes up to me. She wants to give me her card so I can buy real estate. I went, are you nuts? See, the reason they're called real estate brokers is because they're broker than you are. So she's sitting there. Her husband's a nice guy, and they're sitting with their tax accountant. So I'm sitting there watching the Milwaukee Bucks kick the Phoenix Suns' ass. And I'm listening to these three yo-yos telling me about real estate. And sitting right behind them is my $50 million real estate project. And they're trying to teach me about real estate. The reason they're called real estate brokers is because they're broker than you are. The reason they're called stock brokers is because they're broker than you are. Always know that. So she says, well, let me show you you can flip some properties and all this stuff. I'm going, no, man, this is 2021. We're at the top of a bubble. And you know what she said? She says, yes, but the price of real estate never comes down. I went, oh my God. Oh my God. It's about to come down then. You see, Joseph Kennedy, father of President John Kennedy, said, when shoeshine boys give you tips, it's time to sell. And that was just before 1929. So sports fans, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're at the top of this bubble. Everybody's happy as Larry. They're drinking. The champagne is flowing. But just remember, let me say this again to you. How did you go broke? Oh, there are two ways. Slowly at first, then suddenly. It's that suddenly that I'm afraid of. So when that comes, remember, that's what a depression is. People are depressed. So the reason there's a rich dad company in me and my psychotic ways and stuff like this, I'm just saying to you, it's really a time to get excited. But you've got to be prepared for the crash before the crash. And that was my tweet. So I'm still saying buy gold, silver, and Bitcoin. Now, but will gold and silver and Bitcoin go up and down? Of course. But that's why you want to buy the stuff early. So I'm in my entry price for Bitcoin is 9,000. When it goes to, let's say, 20,000, I'm still in the money. So right now, I'm very impressed with Bitcoin. I like the blockchain idea. I'm learning more. I'm an old guy, but I'm learning. But I do think it's the money of the future. At least blockchain is going to help that out. All these other cryptos coming out, I don't know about it. I just think my friends who are in the know tell me that Bitcoin is still the old dog, the best one to buy. So, but I'm not saying buy Bitcoin. I'm just saying I'm buying Bitcoin. It's a big difference. And I'm still buying gold and silver, but I started buying gold at $50 and silver at $1. So I'm in the money. So the best time to prepare for a crash is before the crash. So think about this. If I'm right, I'm not saying I'm right. Let's say they blow this huge bubble. Biden keeps handing out more stimmy checks and whatever these cartoons are doing. I mean, these guys are criminals. I mean, how can, I'm not political, but Trump was building a wall in the southern border and Biden opens the gates. I'm going, this country could not be more screwed up. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's better to be smarter than be euphoric right now. That's what I'm saying. So I get really rich when markets crash. So I'm watching Bitcoin. This is July 2021. When Bitcoin gets around 27 to 24,000, I get interested again. So that's like having Neiman Marcus go on sale. So let's say I like these pair of Prada shoes. So I love Prada shoes. Why? Because I have fat feet. They fit. Comfortable. They really are comfortable. But anyway, what was I talking about? Oh, so let's say Prada shoes at $500. Neiman raises the price. Oh, today it's $700. Would people rush in and buy Prada shoes at $700 when they're only $500? But that's what these idiots are doing today. They're buying stocks at all-time highs, buying real estate at all-time highs. I'm going, everybody's happy. Why do people get happy when you're buying assets at tops of markets? So if I'm not saying, if Neiman Marcus says, well, those Prada shoes that were $700 are now on sale at $1, guess what? I'm not going to say, oh, that's terrible. The shoe price crashed. No, I'm going to get really excited. I'm going to stock up on Prada shoes or whatever there is, So ladies and gentlemen, only idiots buy at the top of a market. And today the world is full of idiots, full of idiots. Everybody's happy. So let me say it again. This is an old saying in my world of investing. How did you go broke? Well, two ways. Slowly at first, then suddenly. And I think that's my warning to you today. I'd be prepared for the crash. When Bitcoin gets down to 24, I'm going to come alive again. I'm going to get a little bit more excited. If gold goes down to, let's say, 1,000, I'm going to back up the truck. If silver goes to, let's say, 15, I'm going to back up the truck. So right now, I'm in a cash position. I'm just waiting for the crash. So that's how you kind of think about it. Just remember, going back to that real estate agent, the real estate broker, and her husband, and their goofy accountant. My accountant is Tom Wheelwright. You should get his book, Tax-Free Wealth, because I don't pay taxes. Okay, there's reasons for that, because it goes back to 71, the dollar became debt and taxes. So that's education. But anyway, so I'm sitting next to this couple and their accountant. And I said, so what's their problem? And he says, you mind if I tell him? I said, yeah. So he told me. He says they made so much money selling real estate as brokers. And then they caught the bug. They said, why are we selling them? We should be wholesaling. We should be flipping. We should be doing all those other things. So this young couple, probably 31, 32, I don't know how old they are, they started flipping. Now, I don't know if you know the tax law, but taxes on commissions are different than commissions on flipping. So he said to me, he says, they have huge tax problems, but they're happy because the price of real estate always goes up. That's why they're called brokers. They're more stupid than you are. They're giving advice. And I'm saying, watch out because it's heading a top. And he said, oh, no, price of real estate all goes up. So I asked this accountant, that's why you should get Tom Wheelwright's book, because he's my accountant. I said, what did you advise him to do? His advice was flip more property. I had a spiritual experience right there. How could their accountant be that stupid? Okay, so that's what Rich Dad is we don't sell real estate, we don't sell gold, we don't sell silver, we don't sell Bitcoin. We just educate people to be cautious. It's financial education is your best investment because this is the best piece of real estate. The 6 inches between this here and this here is your best thing. So this couple, brokers, they're going to flip into a bubble. Oh my God. And their accountant is taking their money. And she wanted to sell me property when sitting right, 10 feet from the bar was my huge property going up, which I bought 25 years ago. So there's a benefit for being an old guy. Now, I bought that property after the 2008 bust. So that's why I'm a rich man. Busts can make, booms, busts, depressions can make you very rich if you have the right financial education. So that's why I sent that tweet out. It said the best time to prepare for a crash is before a crash. So this is July 2021. I think the crash is coming. My friend Jim Rickards, he says, it's like this avalanche is piling, all this debt has been piling up. It's like an avalanche ready to go. All it's going to take is that last snowflake. And when that last snowflake comes down, that's when it goes, how did you go bankrupt? Slowly at first, then suddenly. So thank you for supporting Rich Dad, listen to our tweets and all that, but that's real financial education. I make no money. I'm not asking you to buy anything, but please stay educated and be careful of real estate brokers, stockbrokers, financial planners, because there's only one way they get rich is by taking your money. Thank you.
Thôi mong chờ vậy sao bật khóc trong ngu ngơ. Vẫn thế đây bao lâu nay em không hay chỉ một mình anh ngồi khóc. Nước mắt đây riêng nơi đây em không hay sự thật là anh nhớ em. Người giờ đã xa lời hẹn ước đâu rồi, nước mắt đây rơi biết bao lâu thì khô. Vẫn thế đây bao đêm say em không hay từng giọt buồn sao mặn đắng. Nhưng lúc ấy anh loay hoay trong cơn say lại nhầm rằng em ở đây. Người giờ đổi thay tình mình vẫn đong đầy. Thế mới biết anh vẫn yêu em vì sao tìm quên chốn xưa ngày ta quen.